big variety of things you can
Right.
attend, you know,
Okay.
you don't have to belong to the committees to go.
Good morning, everybody. Calling to order the Economic Growth and Development Committee Planning and Community Development Agenda for February 28th. It is 11:42. Start the meeting. I need approval of the minutes. Need a motion. Mr. Casito, Ms. Turner. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, action agenda, new business, permission to apply for NBRC Catalyst Program. Is that, Ethan, is that for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Last year, planning department in partnership with DPW Parks and Rec worked on a master plan for Warren County Fish Hatchery, Warrensburg. We submitted an application to the Northern Borders Regional Commission Catalyst Program. Really nice, favorable match of 80% federal funds, 20% local. We received word that the application was not successful. However, a debrief on the application said we were in the top 10% of applications and we were just over the line. The project reviewer encouraged us to resubmit the application. And it's our intent to do that this spring. So the resolution there is simply to resubmit an application slightly updated for implementing components of the fish hatchery. The local match indicated in there, we set the maximum at $210,000. This number will likely go down as the county has committed funds to upgrade a roof over the main hatchery building. Depending on the timing of that project and the announcement of these grants, we may be able to leverage those improvements towards our local match. So we're optimistic for that. So this resolution in front of you authorizes us to submit for this program this spring at an 80-20 match.
Any motion to bring this to the floor, please? Supervisor Turner on the first. Mr. Casito on the second. Any conversation or questions? Seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, request Warren County Board of Supervisors to declare intent to serve as lead agency for purposes of SEQR proceedings for comprehensive plan adoption.
Thank you. And if I could request Larry or Amanda to bundling 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but these are all related to the county comprehensive plan. Last committee meeting, we announced that we had a draft plan. On February 10th, there was a board meeting and you all received a presentation on the comprehensive plan. We have solicited public comments in that period and we received public comments and responded to them. We made 3 modifications to the plan since receiving those. Did these in consultation with various county departments, and 3 of those are related to our aging population and some of our employee recruitment and retention policies. The priority actions related to aging indicate that we should be aligning county funding with aging demographics to support our Office of the Aging's growing role. The language in that indicates that as a county, we should be conscious of the demographic trends over the next 20 years that show an increasingly large proportion of older people. And just be conscious of the fact that we could expect that funding to be increased as necessary. Again, as a policy document, this doesn't hold the county to do anything officially on that line, just be aware. And then goal 6, that was expanded. Some interesting public comments on employee recruitment and attraction. And the draft plan didn't fully recognize the work that our HR department and our county administrator's office are already doing in terms of staff training and some of the, I guess, fairly innovative things those departments are doing together. And the 2 new priority actions are to continue workforce assessments and employee retention initiatives to support healthy operations. And then for a new priority action is to continue to coordinate with human resources and county administration to strengthen recruitment, retention, and employee development programs. Part of the planning process involved a operations overview from the consultant CGR, which they interviewed all department heads and sort of took a deep dive into operations. And one of the key takeaways from that is that across all departments, one of the things that we're struggling with was just staffing. staffing, you know, how do we just maintain operations with low staff due to, you know, retirements and demographic changes and this housing crisis. So it was nice, you know, to update the plan with those two actions, just recognizing the role that these departments already play and will need to continue to play as we face an aging population. So those are the primary changes. The rest of them were typos, small grammar issues. And so the final plan is posted online for everyone to review. So the actions in front of you today would be seeker proceedings, State Environmental Quality Review Act. The second would be the 239D process, which is a fairly obscure state law that requires that we refer the comprehensive plan document to all local municipal boards and planning boards. So that's all town boards and planning boards across the county. We will be doing this. And then the fourth resolution there is set a public hearing for adoption of the county comprehensive plan. So this is it's a type 1 action with seeker. We fill out a full environmental assessment form, but it will be up to the full board of supervisors to set the date of public hearing, open it up, and then close it and adopt. So those are the three actions. In a nutshell, the action that we're doing here is initiating the adoption of Warren County 2040, and you know, we're really proud of this work. It'll take a few months to go through this process, but we anticipate this spring to have an adopted comprehensive plan.
If I could just add one quick small note, that we do not want to start or open that public hearing until after the seeker is complete. Just to make sure that
Yeah,
we're
and we
clear on
can,
the time.
Any objection to putting all three resolutions together?
I'll move them.
Need a second, please? Mr. Pacito? All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next request, accept grant award, New York State DOS Brownfield Opportunity Area Program, establish capital account with Warren County Board of. All right, but BOA.
Brownfield opportunity, right?
Okay,
Excuse
got
me, yeah. I think we announced the award of this grant at a previous meeting, but this is simply formalizing us receiving the state funds. We can commence with the contract and work of the brownfield opportunity area assessment, inventorying vacant, underutilized properties that may or may not be contaminated. Key part of our housing strategy.
Need a motion to bring this?
I'm over.
Sorry, Ethan, do you need a contract for this to accept?
No, excuse me. It's part of us establishing the cap, of receiving the awards that we can.
Okay, but you already have a grant agreement?
We already have a letter. We need to,
So you need two separate things here, then you need to
Yes.
authorize the chairman to authorize the grant agreement and sign off on that, and you need to establish a capital account, so. Actually, this committee is gonna be approving two separate things. One is going to be a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the grant agreement, and the other is actually gonna end up being a referral to finance to establish the capital account.
thank you.
Do we need a floor resolution for?
I'll move what she said.
Okay. I need a second, please. Ms. Turner, all right,
Just one question.
yes.
The resolution request has a different number than the agenda. I just want to confirm with I think they're different numbers.
Yes, thank you. So in the rationale on item number 5, you'll see we were awarded $100,000. The total project amount is approximately $111,000. The local match is encapsulating that entire project cost and that staff time for the planning department.
Any other conversation or questions? Seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor? Aye. Number 6, request submit grant application, New York State Empire State Development Program, County Infrastructure.
Okay, at previous committee meetings, we announced the creation of a new grant program for counties. This is the Empire State Development County Infrastructure. The idea was that the state recognized that infrastructure is one of the key holdups to producing housing. And they offered the opportunity to support either $500,000 or $1 million applications, matching 50-50, support anything for infrastructure. And it broadly defined it and could include housing, sewer and water, or even things like forest. We put out a solicitation to all supervisors, at a previous committee meeting, I believe administrator mentioned this at another, board meeting. And we solicited projects from interested municipalities, we reviewed the capital project inventory, and we received 2 solicitations, one of which is for the town of Johnsburg Sewer District. This would be, we would request $1 million, to support the sewer district. We know that there's, in the 6-year course of that program, there has been, inflation and just cost increases. And the other project, would be supporting some water infrastructure for a 400-unit housing development proposed in Lake George. This is the, previous Ramada site. I think I've seen the news on this one. So a 400 unit house, approximately 400 unit housing development, be working to provide housing with some degree of affordability in it. Working with the village and town on this project. They have endorsement from both the village and town. The idea was that in order to have water infrastructure go to this development, they would need to build a tank. And then the idea would be is that they build the tank in order to make this project happen. Then over a period of time, the village takes ownership that incorporates into their water district. So the request from the town, talked with the project sponsor here, is that this specific funding request would be supporting $1 million to offset the cost for water infrastructure for the 400 unit housing development. So those are the 2 solicitations, both great projects. I think we all know, whether it's North Creek or Lake George, anything that brings, infrastructure and housing to our county, it's sorely needed. So the request today is for this committee to determine which project they would like to sponsor and move forward so that our department can submit an application.
That's great.
Yeah. And this is an interesting mix to have here.
Do you want to put on boxing gloves or anything? I'm just curious.
Um,
Can I ask questions or you want to bring it to the floor then discussion?
Oh, I'll make a motion, we move ahead with.
Yeah, let's,
grants.
yeah, okay, motion to bring this to the floor, please.
A second.
I would suggest that maybe we split it 2, or are we only allowed one?
We're allowed to put in one application.
Wow.
Guys, speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any other, if I remember right, there was one offered for 500,000 if it was 4 units or I'm not sure.
There was,
what the numbers,
so
and
it's
there
up to
was
$1
one
million if it supports
Total.
up to 10 units of housing. And then if there was no housing involved, then we could ask for up to 500,000. So
Is
this
it-
could be like a tourism or, like an outdoor rec related.
Gotcha. Is there any other grant for the Lake George project that's out there?
Yes,
we can
we
go
are,
after.
so our department worked with your planning director for the town and village to achieve pro housing
Yeah, I
status.
know that, yeah.
The town of Bolton recently pursued funding through the pro housing program, and they got infrastructure funding for a pump station. The project in Lake George it's a great project from preliminary review and in contact with some of the project sponsors. And we would love to support it and seeking after grants and any other access to funding that we can get through state programs. It's everything we've heard about it, the desire to put in workforce housing, increase school enrollment rates, it's sorely needed. Every plan we've had points to need for that.
It's what everyone's asking for.
Yeah, and we're more than happy to put resources from our department towards that.
And
Now,
just, I'm
go-
sorry, I
can
just
Ms.
had a
Graham
quick
please-
question.
Going back.
My understanding is no, that we can't split it,
Okay,
that we're going after one project.
okay.
Never mind. I withdraw my question.
Another great position. on it.
Yeah, it's not a great.
And it makes 2 of us.
No, you know
Well,
what?
I will tell you that we found out that not many counties have applied for any of this money, so I think time is of essence. Whichever project we decide on, you should move on it.
Correct.
Because there will be more, I think there's money put in the budget and nobody's applying for it. That's why we need to move on it. So, I mean, that's one thing we learned.
Yeah.
I feel torn, obviously, under the circumstances.
Well, has Zach been in to talk about the second, who's representing the Gross project, Zach Layton?
Exactly.
Have you talked to him about the other grant?
Yeah, I made him aware that there's other resources out there and that we're happy to lend support to the project. I mean,
Okay,
on its face, there are other opportunities to support the project. We're willing to pursue those with him.
yeah, what do you think the chances? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say, but I think moving into, I mean, our largest round of grant funding is made available. I can't say what happens with the state, who knows, but generally speaking, the opportunities open up in May and then close in July. So we're gonna know, I think there's some local approvals processing to go through, which would actually help advance the project. And then we could work on it this spring when the new funding is announced.
Well, we know how important Johnsburg is.
I don't want to deny how important it is for Lake George either.
I know, but
There you have some,
Just a request on the form that it be not just for submitting, but also prepare to approve any future award and then to accept any further and sign any further awards that are received in addition to the initial grant award without further action by the board.
we're fine.
great. Obviously, I'm torn. I mean, I'm looking for some guidance here, folks. There's only 4 of us at the table.
There's but just to bring it up for a third time, you can't split it up, right?
To my knowledge, no, I mean, I
Okay, that's
I
fine.
can reach back out to the representatives of the program. It's my understanding that we can't, but if there's any way we possibly could, I will. If that would be the intent as a second option, I could certainly pursue it.
No, I
Is it, can I ask a question? Is it? What is the risk of tabling this until we get an answer on submitting 2?
I would not do that.
Okay, again, that's the reason for the question.
You know,
Yeah.
I would not do that. This
Okay.
grant needs to be applied for
Yeah.
and we need to make the best decision going. forward.
And I'm with you, I'm favorite. I'll give you a zinger like you give me sometimes. If it wasn't off tax, we wouldn't be in this situation, but that's okay.
Go ahead. please.
Thanks,
I'm
Mr.
good,
Chair.
though, Kevin. I know the importance of it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, the only thing, and the chairman mentioned it when we were at NISAC this past week, there were discussions about unfunded money at the state and the governor making inquiries as to why people weren't applying for it. So the key is timing is of the essence for this, I think.
Okay.
That's what we need.
You work with Zach and try and lead him along and get him back in here. And
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he's
keep
been,
that in
I've
front of him.
asked him
He's
about this
good.
project and
yeah, I mean, they're pushing, I'm talking to Joe and, okay. Joe.
My own personal opinion, that based on what we heard down there, I think we ought to go with the Johnsburg project to supplant, and this would free up any of the other money that the county dealt allocated towards the sewer project. Not to say that, there won't be immediately some more funding put out, but they want applications and, state government, which we were surprised to hear, looks at it and said, geez, I put this program in place, nobody's applying for it. So it looks like if we get in the front of the line, we'll get a grant and then they may come back with more funds. They didn't say that, but that's what we assume. So I would say
Yeah, it's,
the need right here is for the
Absolutely.
Johnsburg project. It doesn't mean
Agree.
that we should lose sight of the housing
Right.
project, because I think we heard something about the housing projects.
Yeah.
That we all should be putting it, declaring those communities, so. I would not being, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I do think that we want to help the town of Johnsburg and get moving with that.
I don't disagree. If that's your motion, I'll second it.
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was gonna just, all I would add, in the governor's budget, and they're still working out the details, but she does have money set aside for housing initiatives in the state that
Right.
probably this could qualify for. So I think there's more to
Gonna-
follow on
It's
that.
gonna be
Yeah.
coming.
Actually, just another note on that too. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, the local Warren County LDC did meet to establish a fund to support municipal infrastructure development. They believe it was $250,000. Based on the conversations that I heard on that topic and the fact that they resolved to move that money towards that, the North Creek project is further ahead and further towards shovel readiness than the Lake George project is. We could work with the LDC and the town. Be able to, I mean, there are resources to put in a more compelling application. That's a partnership, and a funding thing that we can, I don't speak for the LDC, but I know what they're doing. That would be a good opportunity to support the project as well.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay. So we have a first and a second that the grant proposal for $1 million is for the sewer project in Johnsburg. Is that correct? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
You, project updates? Much. Project updates. I'm not sure if that's-
So I know we're running a little bit over schedule right now. There's some technical issues, but you have in front of you a printed copy of our annual report, which we're extremely proud of. Advise not to speak of this. Post on our website, you have it in your hands. We're proud of our accomplishments over last year. It's a, rebuilt department. Take a look at it. We're very optimistic about the direction we're heading in 2025. On the 13th of February, we had a lunch and learn. We did not do our traditional committee format of presenting a final plan. What we did is we brought it further out to the public. We had a Zoom meeting, a bunch of different industry folks. This on the outdoor recreation economy strategic plan. Bit of a mouthful, but it really is, outdoor recreation and tourism specifically is a third of our economy. The strategy that we outlined and that we developed with a lot of different stakeholders outlines how do we actually make this more economically impactful for our communities, and how do we benefit quality of life for residents? And the strategies outlined in that plan, our department is already working with our partners to implement. And as we go into the next year, we will be poking you on that as well, and probably come to this community asking about support for various initiatives. That, and I just do have to plug our housing strategy, which is available online. Take a look at that. We plan on convening the housing task force by the end of March. And the three key pillars of that strategy going into 2025 have been, have this actual working group together, technical assistance, which we have really stepped up in the last year, supporting short-term rental, management decisions, grant applications, and planning and zoning groups. And then the third component of this was the education and communication about the significance of the housing issues. Again, check that out online. I know we're running over time right now. And I think I'll leave it at that. I think we can have a little more detailed discussion at the next committee meeting about our Thriving Hamlets initiative, as well as any other updates of our annual report.
Yeah,
Yep, yes,
can I speak?
I believe you
Yeah, I'm not
can. You're sitting at the table.
I have to get permission. Please. Anyways, the two things you just mentioned, the recreation, we went to a tourism recreation talk at the down at NISAC. And I believe the tourism people are going to be in Lake George for a convention in I don't know if it's April or maybe at Fort William Henry. I would suggest everybody try to get there to hear this. It was excellent in tying recreation opportunities in with tourism, which they did down in Warwick, down in down below here. And that was a good one. And then housing, and I can't emphasize, we went to the Capitol and heard the governor speak, and that's one thing that she mentioned in her her remarks to us was housing was key on her agenda. So I think there'll be opportunities for projects like you got going on in Lake George in the future, but I can't emphasize enough, that we need this. I think we're heading in the right direction with what you're doing. And so I just would like to see more of it. And I got some ideas what we want to do in Warrensburg, and I'm disappointed the fish factory didn't get awarded, but
Top 10%, yeah.
you know, maybe we gotta get a little help there, so, okay, that's it. Did I miss anything, John?
Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm going to go to privilege of the floor. Anybody for privilege of, yes?
Can I just ask you something? Says it's a $2 million total, but you're only asking for $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million is gonna be in matching funds in either situation, whether it's been Lake George or Mill Creek, it's already through matching funds they have earmarked for, like.
And
North
50/50, that's kind of an unusual, I always thought it was more like 5-10% local match.
For infrastructure, this is actually this is a remarkable deal. Yes, for infrastructure.
Thank you.
Anyone else for privilege of the floor? Okay, seeing none, time to move on to economic growth development, workforce development. Liza, how are you this morning?
I'm well, how are you?
Dandy, never better.
Happy Friday.
Motion to, well, let me just, motion to approve the minutes of the previous, oh, no. All right, good enough. All right,
Thanks.
thanks, Liza. Go
No
ahead.
problem. Happy Friday, everybody. I just have one resolution request for permission to apply for a grant. You have the overview of the grant, the RFP, and the application in your packet. We were already working on an idea when the planning department reached out to us about this opportunity. And essentially, we would like to submit in partnership with the planning department. We also have the sheriff's support, a proposal to start a project, a pilot that will support individuals who were previously incarcerated with obtaining some manufacturing skills, and then pipeline them into local manufacturers. So that is the gist of what the grant application will be, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the project.
I was reading through it last night. It's nice to see. It
Yeah.
truly is. I need a motion to bring this to the floor, please. Ms. Turner. Chikasito. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Yep.
And then Amanda or Tammy, if you're able to pull up the slides I've shared, I'm just gonna give a quick 2024 review. You all have the slides in your packet as well. All right, so that lovely picture is actually a Chestertown employee who we sponsored getting his CDL license this past year. So really wanted to celebrate him. You may have seen that in a recent newsletter. For any new committee members or the public that may be watching, I just wanted to briefly share how the workforce system works again. And we are mostly federally funded by the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, which is federal money. And there are thousands of job centers like ours across the country that are funded by this federal money. But with our Saratoga Warren Washington Workforce Board, which this board appoints members of, and the career centers and local businesses, community partners, we are assessing what our employment and training needs are in the community all year long, and putting in programs and services to support adults, youth, and dislocated workers. While WIOA is up for reauthorization right now, it is on the floor at the federal level. I just want to reiterate how critical WIOA funding is for not just our area, but nationwide. So that is what the system looks like generally. And then the next slide has really it's our org chart. So you can see the team members that I have. I do have 2 new people starting in the next few weeks, which is exciting, but I wanted you to see that 2 of these positions have been historically funded by ARPA funds. And now we will be using WIOA money to fund those. But we were so grateful to have the ARPA money to pilot those positions, because we had somebody supporting our youth with disabilities in the workforce in the summer, our summer job coach. And then we have our student to career development specialist who's been working diligently with our school districts. So we're excited to continue with that. I did add a part-time office specialist, but currently that position is remaining open until we see kind of what happens with our WIOA funding, the federal level. Next slide, you will see our total labor force numbers, and I wanted to go back to 2019 because I wanted to show you what it looked like pre-COVID, what it looked like during COVID, and what it's looked like in our recovery. You will see in our total labor force in December 2024, compared to 2019, we are losing workers, right? And I think we can all say that that's probably housing as one of the biggest issues why we are losing workers. That is why we are, my team is really diligent about making sure that we are working with people that are already here, who are on the sidelines, whether that's youth, people with disabilities, people with criminal records, even active seniors, trying to get them into the workforce until the housing crisis is solved. But I think those numbers are really interesting. Unemployment rate still remains low at 4%. I think we will see in a month or two how any changes at the federal level could impact that with federal jobs, as well as how tariffs affect any local companies, construction, et cetera. We won't know for a bit, but for now, we're still in good shape. Next slide has our total budget from 2024. While it has WIOA as only about 60% there, it's really about 90% of our budget now in 2025. But in 2024, I wanted you to see we were still using up ARPA money. We also are reimbursed by DSS because we do classes for their clients. We had 75 DSS clients attend classes with us, employment classes with us in 2024. I also wanted to note that our TANF money, that covers our summer youth employment program. That is temporary aid for needy families that DSS signs over to us every summer. That is also federal money that keeps youth employed throughout the summer across our country. And so I wanted to highlight that, the importance of that money as well. We haven't heard that that's going to be cut, but I'll certainly keep you posted. We still have the childcare grant money. Don Lehman has been really helpful with making sure that locals know that there is funding for people to start their own childcare business in home. That money is still through 2026, May 2026. So we definitely still have that money. And certainly super grateful that for the third year in a row, we have county support of $100,000 for workforce development. I think it's really smart that we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket for our workforce funding. So that is what our spending in our budget looked like for 2024. Definitely looks a little different for 2025. On this slide, I'm super proud to say that in 2024, we helped sponsor about 80 people through training programs. And those 36 CDLs, A's and B's, about half of those are municipal workers. And I'm extremely proud of that because that is really helping us retain those workers so that they can help our highway departments, DPW, plowing our roads. And I really feel like that's going to help us retain more workers. Certainly nursing is an in-demand industry and will continue to be. We're always sponsoring people through nursing programs. You'll also see supportive services. We've been able to help people, for example, if it's a nursing student who's a single mom, she needs, gas cards to get to class. We've been able to support her. Work boots that cost $150. We don't want that to keep somebody from starting a job. We've been able to sponsor people through that. Our GED class, that's our youth GED class that goes up to age 24. We were able to increase enrollment last year from 12 students in that class to 18. It is still full with a waiting list, and that speaks to the school avoidance that we're seeing with students, and that's every school district since COVID, mental health issues, social issues, et cetera. But many of our students, they're really smart, just that the classroom setting hasn't worked for some of them. So we had 4 GED graduates this past year. 2 of them enrolled at SUNY Adirondack, and all 4 are working. So we're extremely proud to be supporting those young people as well. Next slide has our virtual workshop attendance. You may recall we started these virtual workshops during COVID with all of our Capital Region Career Center partners. And so our staff co-facilitate on all of these topics. We did add networking in 2024, which was popular. And so we've had 2,200 people in 2024 join in on our virtual workshops from around the state to get this information that helps them obtain a job. And then our summer youth employment program, which many of you always attend our celebration at the end of the summer. So we had 34 youth in 9 different zip codes in Warren County at 19 work sites. And that has also led to hundreds of summer lunches being distributed to local students that may not have enough food at home. And then last couple slides, additional youth programming. We had 7 youth participate in a mentorship program this fall. You'll see in the top picture, that is Mayor Collins of Glens Falls with one of his mentees. He had 2 mentees this fall. That was a 12-week program. Those young people earn a stipend, not a paycheck, but a stipend for shadowing around a local employer or leader. We also have 7 youth in year-round work experience right now. And that is both at private and public employers. Virtual reality training increased. Our team did virtual reality training with every 3rd grader in Glens Falls this past fall to try out different careers virtually. And we're doing that with high schools and even with DSS clients as well. And we're currently, as you know, as you've probably seen in press releases and on social media, we are currently recruiting for the annual high school and middle school job fairs. While you have this and the public has it on social media, I do have extra copies if anybody needs those. As we are really trying to get young people into the workforce this summer. March is tomorrow, so it is summer season recruiting. And then finally, the last slide just has some of our challenges. So you heard about all of our successes. These are still some of the challenges we face, that many of them are not news to you. But I'm happy to answer any questions about our 2024 or our current workforce challenges this winter or spring.
I gotta tell you how important your job fairs are, because I had a business ask me, where do I go about being part of it? And I said, get a hold of Liza, she'll help you out. And then it looks like you prioritize the CDLs, and which is good.
Yeah.
But I think you'll see us in the future put a little more emphasis on boosting the pay for CDL drivers. We all need them, and the more we can get out there, the better off we're gonna be to meet some of the needs.
Yeah, I was gonna give Superintendent Hajo some hoo-ha this morning, because he actually pilfered one of our CDL drivers that left the town of Johnsburg to come work for the county. So now we're looking for another CDL driver.
Happy to help you. We did have a job fair yesterday at Crandall Library, and around 100 job seekers came to engage with 14 businesses. So that was very successful. We're doing one at Glens Falls YMCA as well coming up this spring. So we'll keep you posted on that date.
Anything else for Miss Liza this morning, this afternoon? Privilege of the floor. Seeing none, I call for adjournments. Okay, so moved. Stand adjourned.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff, it's funny because when you go certain